Here's the brilliant truth about the word circumstances. They can be viewed one of two ways. They can either be something you learn from or a chance to lead, and prosperity is derived from your answer to how you respond to those varying circumstances. And for nearly a third of Americans today, feeling overwhelmed by the current state of affairs in their lives isn't far-fetched. According to a study and a survey from the American Psychological Association, they found that 27% of all Americans believe they have a feeling of being so stressed out and overwhelmed that they cannot function properly on most days. In addition, the Stress in America report, published by the same association, says that 76% of all Americans believe that some or all aspects of their lives are affected by stress. And finally, a survey found that 60% of all the U.S. adults believe that their lives are too busy to enjoy all life has to offer at least some of the time. For my friend Brandon Held, he's a life coach who has experienced the true trials and tribulations of life and has found enough resilience over the years to overcome his own feeling of overwhelm, and now he wants to help others do the same. Held's story goes a little like this. He grew up without a father in an alcohol-fueled and drug environment. He watched his mother be abused by his stepdad, and he escaped that life by joining the military twice and also going to college multiple times. He's been divorced 3 times and is currently on his 4th marriage. He's also got 3 sons, and he's held multiple positions, including bartender, personal trainer, salesperson, government contractor, and worked in the aerospace. He admits to being suicidal and even attempted suicide. He's dealt with and seen things that many people don't experience in one lifetime, and now he's on a mission to help others through mindfulness and purpose-driven coaching find clarity and direction in their personal and professional lives. And Held joined me this week to tell me more. I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. Brandon, if you're ready, my friend, I'll take a moment to welcome you to the program. And I'm super excited to learn about your life journey this afternoon, buddy. Great to see you. And thanks for a couple of minutes, my friend.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So, Brandon, based on your life story, which we'll dive into in just a second, but I'm curious, based on your life story and experience, my friend, how do you define the word resilience and tenacity, my friend? What do those 2 words mean to you?
Well, so resilience is, something that allows you to be strong and get through the difficult times and bounce back when, you're getting punched in the face, and you take the punches and you're able to fight back. And tenacity is with the fervor that you fight back with. When you are fighting back and you are attacking something, how tenacious are you in giving it all? You're giving it as much as you can, shows how tenacious you can be.
Yeah, absolutely, my friend. And I know that you spent some time in the service twice. So, first of all, thank you for your service, my friend. And I'm curious, how did your time in the military really shape and mold the person you are today?
It's a huge part of who I am today. And I think a lot of that is because when I was 17 years old, I was still trying to figure out who I am and what I'm about. And that's when I joined the Air Force, and the Air Force taught me, discipline, hard work, honor, being honorable, and loyalty, and just so many high quality morals and ethics that I have carried with me the rest of my life.
Yeah, absolutely, my friend. And I know that you've taken sort of your life experience in both the military and your own personal life, and you're really on a mission now to help others sort of redefine what it is that centers them in life, giving them clarity and a sense of purpose, my friend. So tell me about your work as a life coach and what brings you most fulfillment, my friend.
Yeah. So, what I love about life coaching and helping people is helping people find their purpose, and everyone's purpose is different, and how they come to that conclusion is within inside them. They know it. It's in there. I just lead them to it. I help them get down the path they need to go to find those answers. And it took a lot of ups and downs, a lot of successes and failures in my life for me to figure that out on my own. And I just thought if I could help people figure that out faster, instead of going through everything I went through before they get there, that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And Brandon, I know that you grew up in sort of a challenging environment, witnessing a domestic abuse and not having a stable father figure in your life, my friend. So I'm curious, when we talk about overcoming adversity, I'm wondering if you can talk about your own experience in doing that and how it shaped you as a person.
Sure. I mean, my childhood was rough, but it was one of those things that when I was going through it, it was my normal, right? I didn't really let it affect me too much because I was forward thinking. I was always thinking about what I was going to do when I became an adult and I could start my own life and make my own way. And what I would say is four times in my life I've had to start over from nothing. So four times in my life I had the clothes on my back and some clothes in a suitcase, and that's literally all I had. No home, no job, nothing. And so that to me is where I really showed strength in rebounding from difficult situations the most.
Yeah, absolutely. And Brenda, I'm going to share just a little bit about myself, buddy. So I was born with cerebral palsy, Brandon, and I actually found out at the age of 9, buddy, that I would never be able to walk without the assistance of a walker because of the severity of my disability. But I always say that circumstances can be viewed in two ways, my friend. They can either be something you learn from or something that gives you a chance to lead. And I'm wondering your thoughts on that sort of sentiment and where you fall on that, which side you fall on that argument, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, and I would go even farther beyond that and say everything you believe is true. So it's like what I tell my kids: if you think life is miserable, you're right. If you think life is great, you are right also. So it's really just a mental mindset within yourself, and whatever you believe to be true will be true.
Yeah, absolutely. And Brandon, I know that you have plenty experience in the art of compromising, buddy. I know you've been married three times, and you currently on your fourth marriage, buddy. So you can provide some unique insights when it comes to relationship and compromise. So tell me, what's the biggest lesson you think you've learned about relationships and compromise, buddy?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, first of all, compromise is essential. Not only for you as the man, but for the woman as well. And if she's someone who is very stubborn and has to have things her way and is not willing to compromise and fit your needs and your desires, then I say run. I don't care if you love her. I don't care what you think about her. That's not a good person, so run. And the same would go for you as a man. Also, everyone says this, they beat this to death, but no one really clarifies it. And communication is so important. And what I mean by communication is not having secrets, communicating even simple things like I'm grumpy today, giving your spouse the understanding that you're in a certain type of mood, you're feeling a certain type of way, and they should, not tiptoe around you, but just understand that you're going through something. And so you on conversely to that, you need to have compassion. So when you're with someone who is not having a good day or is going through something, be there for them, adjust how your behavior is so you can help them out. And finally, the last thing I would say, the thing that I never asked my first three wives before I got married, which I did my fourth wife, was, are you someone that believes in continually learning and growing as a person? And I wish that was something I would have known, because I was married to my third wife for 12 years and she didn't change at all in 12 years. She was the same person I married 12 years later. So that's also something I feel is important.
Well, Brandon, I always tell people no matter how many years you went to school or how many degrees you have in the law, you can always learn something from somebody else, right?
Very true. Very true.
Yeah, absolutely. And buddy, I know that you host the Life is Crazy podcast, buddy, where you dive into all of the live situations and different scenarios to help people sort of navigate their own self-identity, my friend. So tell me about the podcast and the success you've had with it, my friend.
Yeah, thank you. It's going very well. It's a passion project, I would say. I started off just by telling my life story. So the first 25 episodes are my childhood all the way up to current present today. And then after that, it's me dealing, interviewing other guests and talking to other people who either have dealt with trauma or something, suicide attempts or whatever they have dealt with in life, or doctors and therapists who work with people who do that, because what I want to do is save lives. I attempted suicide once in my life. That fourth time that I had to start over, I was tired of starting over again. And so I attempted suicide. Obviously, it failed and I lived. I took a full bottle of Ambien and someone called an ambulance and saved my life. And then when I lived, I just had a whole new attitude and a whole new outlook on life, that I needed to approach life differently. And ever since then, I have felt more of a mission and a passion to help other people who were going through what I was going through.
Yeah, and building on that, I'm curious to ask you about when you work with people. How I'm wondering if you can go through the process of helping them discover their own self identity and what you really focus on when you're trying to get people to be the best versions of themselves.
Yeah, I mean it obviously varies by individual because we're all human and we're all different and we all have our own brain. And so I really just ask you know questions based off of, so I would give a client a like an incoming sheet that allows them to tell me a little bit about themselves. And then based off the information they provide, I ask questions, just like an interview, right? I ask questions based off the information they provide that help lead them down the path of discovery. And it's pretty incredible when you do that. When you meet with someone and they have their own aha moment, and then they realize they said it right. I didn't say it to them. I just drew it out of them. I helped them realize that aha moment, and then they realize their aha moment of, yes, this is what I was looking for. It's a great feeling. It really is.
Yeah, absolutely. And Brandon, we're having this conversation, buddy, at the tail end of July. And July, my friend, is National Disability Pride Month. And I'm curious to ask you about how you think the concepts of inclusion and acceptance are interconnected, my friend.
Oh man, well, I've told this before. I told it in my life story. I think I did anyway. It's hard to know. It's 12 and a half hours long. I grew up in an all white town. So when I was growing up, I didn't know any other race or color or culture or even handicap. I mean, there was a little person in my town, and he got treated really well. Nobody made fun of him. Nobody picked on him, anything like that. But outside of that, I didn't really I didn't really know anything else. And then when I got out in the world and I started meeting, every ethnicity, every culture, every different type of background, I realized that there are some beautiful, amazing people. And then there are some people just suck. So you have to judge people based off of who they are as a person exclusively, the way they behave, the way they treat other people, the way they treat you. That to me is how you judge a person, and everything else shouldn't matter, doesn't matter.
Yeah, absolutely, my friend. And I'm curious, Brandon. I'm a big believer in the power of self-reflection and really, uh, creating our own level of expectation. Because I believe that if you don't have a fundamental level of your own expectations, it's hard to rise to the level of uh, anyone else's. So I'm curious when you look at self-reflection and personal growth. Why do you think it's so important for people to develop their own self-identity?
Well, because without it, you don't really know happiness in life. You don't really know who you are and what you're about and what you should be doing with this life. If you're trying to live a life that someone else has told you to live, or you're just existing because you don't know uh, what your purpose is, and you don't self reflect, and you don't figure out why you're here, then I've found most of those people in my life that I know that are like that just to be miserable, and they question life, and they question their existence, and they question everything. They don't have a purpose. And to me, without purpose, you're just lost.
Yeah, so how do you define purpose? What's your own personal definition of that, my friend?
Yeah, I would say whatever it is that for you is what you have passion for and what you think you are living this life for. And everyone's purpose can be different. You know, if your purpose is to provide and support your family and make sure, you know, your spouse and your kids are well taken care of, and that's what matters to you, then that's your purpose. It still gives you a reason to get up every morning and do the things that you do. You know, I feel that way about my family, but I also feel like I have a purpose to help others, and you know, especially those who have dealt with trauma or are going through a rough time and they feel suicidal or lost and they don't know how to get back on track in life. I also really want to help those people. I was a personal trainer for a long time, for over 15 years. So I had a purpose to, you know, turn people's lives around with physical fitness. And that's a really satisfying purpose, because not only are you changing their physical body, you're changing their whole person, who they are, the way they think, their happiness in life, their outlook on life. Everything changes when you changes someone's physical fitness. So, you know, purpose can be many different things.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you mentioned, my friend, you've had several different professional experiences, from being a bartender to personal training to working for the government and, of course, the military. So you're one of the perfect people to ask about professional development and also fulfillment, my friend. And what do you think about the importance of having professional versatility, my friend? What are your thoughts there?
I mean that's almost a no-brainer to me. You know, when you work in different fields in life, and you can then take that experience and that knowledge and you can transcend that stuff into the next position and the next job that you do. It makes you just a better, well-rounded person. You know, for example, by being a server and a bartender in my younger years, I, you know, learned customer service. You know, you have to put up with some pretty crappy people at times, but also there's a lot of amazing people, and you learn how to be great at customer service. And when I got into my corporate career, you know, everyone still has customers, no matter what level you are. People are still your customers. So that carried me a long way, even in my corporate career, that understanding the people that I'm helping and assisting are my customers, and I treat them as such. So it's just things like that that you can just carry across different works, different types of jobs.
Yeah, a lot of transferable skills, right? Absolutely.
That's right.
Yeah, and Brendan, I'm curious to ask you about the word perspective. As you mentioned, you've attempted suicide and you've also been on the other side of prosperity as well, my friend. So I'm curious about your reflection on the word prosperity and perspective, and what that means to you based on your personal experience, bud.
Yeah, I mean, they go hand in hand, right? I mean, perspective is your view on how you see things and what's important to you, and prosperity can be considered the same thing. So if money is your outlook on life, if from your perspective you think being financially wealthy is what makes you prosperous in life, then those go together. If you think family and loved ones and legacy are part of your perspective in life and what you think is important, then that is what ends up being prosperous to you. So it's really all defined by you as an individual.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Brandon, if people are watching or listening to this, whenever they do that, and they're looking for a sense of hope and inspiration based on listening to your story, and if they have a sense of trauma in their own life, I wonder your best piece of advice on how to restart the engine of sort of, caring about the process of life and getting back into the game of life after a tragedy or trauma. I'm wondering your best piece of advice or direction to those people that may need a sense of inspiration. What would you tell them, my friend?
Yeah, I mean, it starts with desire and want to. You have to want to get out of the situation you're in. You have to want to let go and move on of whatever trauma you've dealt with or difficult situation you've dealt with. And then once you have that, once you just want to do it, next, I would say just do the right things. What do I mean by that? Well, if you have demons such as alcohol or drugs, don't give into those demons. Do self improvement, get more education, whatever you can do to advance yourself in life and make you a more intellectual, better person. And if you keep taking those right steps, if you keep moving on that path in the journey, eventually everything will fall into place and you will be back right on track like you wanted to be. Or maybe, you never been on track and you're just starting to get on track for the first time in your life. You'll find your way there. But the most important thing is you want to do it first, and then you want to do the right things after that and make good choices for yourself.
Yeah, and Brandon, one of the reasons that I was so excited to talk to you this afternoon, buddy, is because we share a sense of allyship in the sense that we're all that we're both committed rather to forming a sense of community. Because on my end of things, buddy, the University of Michigan says that 40% of people who look and sound like me who have a disability live in social isolation because of a lack of social or employment opportunity. And I know for you it's also important to build a sense of community because community equals connection. So tell me, why is it so important for you to build that sense of community, my friend?
Yeah, I absolutely. I mean, no one who doesn't think like you and what you're going through and what you're dealing with isn't going to understand it as well as people that are. So if you're someone who has dealt with some type of trauma, or you just struggle in life and you have suicidal ideations, or you've attempted suicide, other people who are going through that will understand that better than anyone else. And your ability to talk to each other and lift each other up and let each other know that, hey, you're valuable, you're worth something. You should not want to end your life, and tell each other why. That means more when it comes from people who are going through what you're going through. So that's why that sense of community is so important, because there's just compassion and understanding from people who are in the same or similar situations.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, buddy, as you know, we're both college football fans, my friend, and I'm a Michigan fan, and you're an Ohio
I'm
State.
sorry.
Oh well, my most sincere apologies too, my friend. But I'm curious to ask you about why you're a Buckeyes fan and your sort of stance on the state of college football, my friend, because it's ever evolving, my friend. What are your thoughts there?
Well, this is great. I don't really ever get to talk about this on podcasts, so this is awesome. Um, So let me just start by saying I'm starting my second podcast called Buckeye Battle Cry with my best friend, and we're both diehard Ohio State football fans, obviously. And we're both just from Ohio. You grow up in Ohio, it's like a religion to be an Ohio State Buckeye football fan. It just is. There's nothing really else like it in sports, as far as I'm concerned. And so as I joined the Air Force at 17, for example, and I got stationed in North Dakota, it really also made me just feel more proud of being from Ohio and an Ohio State fan. So it really grew in strength from there, from being absent from the state and appreciating what Ohio State football is and what it can do. And as far as the state of college football today, I think it's trending in the wrong direction, to be honest with you. I understand college football players want their name, image, likeness, and they want to make money because they're the athletes, right? They're the ones out there doing the hard work, and that I don't have a problem with. But what I do have a problem with is if they don't put that under some kind of constraints, some kind of control. It's just going to get outrageous. It's just going to be, it's going to put universities in a bind to have to compete, and it's going to make the sport definitely even more slanted in one direction of top heavy teams. Like, for example, I saw on Instagram last week that the University of Texas has a parking lot full of Lamborghinis. And so when their recruits show up, they basically, if you sign with us, pick a Lamborghini, you get a Lamborghini. I mean, how are schools like, Arkansas or the University of Arizona or whoever is supposed to compete with people like that? That it just can't be done. So they need to get a handle on this nil situation and make it so, universities and even boosters or whomever can only offer a college student so much.
Well, and I think it takes away from the majesty of what makes college football great, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I could talk about this for hours with you because there's so many angles to take, but you're absolutely right. One of the things that makes college football the greatest sport on the planet, in my opinion, is the way the students play for the love of the game. And the last thing you want to do is turn it into a business like the NFL. I don't really watch the NFL anymore. I used to pretty regularly, but I had to, cut my life down to where I really could only contribute my time to one sport because I had other commitments. And to me, that was a no-brainer. That was college football, because that's, to me, the best sport in the world. And a lot of that has to do with kids playing for their love of the game, not for business reasons.
And the love of the school, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I think you're right. I think regulation of the transfer portal. I mean, if you don't initially play at a school, you shouldn't be automatically allowed to transfer because you never learn hard work or work ethic if you're always allowed to transfer out of a school, right? So.
Yeah, that's true.
And just one more college football question. What do you think about Ohio State's chances to beat Michigan this year, my friend?
I think it's the same as every year. I think I would say the last 20 years at least, maybe close to 20 years, I've always felt like Ohio State has had the best roster, but it's a rivalry game. Michigan shows up to play and they give Ohio State their best game. Last year, Michigan had no business beating Ohio State. That was a dominating national championship team, as we saw in the playoffs. And for whatever reason, Ohio State didn't show up that game. I don't understand what's happening under Ryan Day in Michigan games. I really don't. I feel like he personally might be choking as a coach. But roster wise, yeah, I think Ohio State should be able to beat Michigan regularly, but Michigan just gets it done sometimes, and you got to tip your hat off to them.
Well, one of the good things about it, my friend, is it's a rivalry again because for years Michigan got destroyed by Ohio State, and they finally started to win some games. So it's a rivalry again, right?
Yeah, for sure. And if you look at, Michigan has the overall wins total over the years, but Michigan was a bigger powerhouse in the earlier years. And but if you looked at records just over the last 30 years, Ohio State has dominated the series overall. Michigan obviously has done really well the last 4 years. They've won four in a row. So but that's what makes games so great. Like you respect and hate each other at the same time.
Well, absolutely, and you have the widest smile because Ohio State won the whole thing last year, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, after they lost to Michigan, I don't know how many Ohio State fans believed that was still possible. I certainly didn't. But yeah, they showed up in the playoffs, and it was almost like finally in the playoffs they were the team you thought they were going to be all year long. So yeah, in the end it worked out well. It ended up being a great season, and it was fun, especially the first year of the new playoff format, which is great and funny because we did that the first year of the other playoff format where you had to win two games to win the national championship. And so the inaugural uh formats the inaugural playoff formats for the two times that they've changed it, Ohio State won it each time, so that's pretty cool.
Well, it's not how you start, it's how you finish, right?
That's true. Yes.
Hey, Brendan, I've got three questions left for you. And the first of those three questions, buddy, is this. I'm curious to get your thoughts on the evolution of masculinity and the importance of redefining what it really means to be a masculine provider and how important is showing and expressing vulnerability in that process. What are your thoughts there, my friend?
Oh man, that is such a difficult question to answer briefly, because I feel like masculinity in young men is definitely trending in the wrong direction. I don't feel like young men are very masculine, and um, not all change is bad, right? I'm old school. I'll be 52 in a couple weeks, and I'm maybe masculine to a fault, to where sometimes maybe my point of view is not recognized by a younger era because I have a more old school point of view. But also the young kids, they're not masculine enough. They're afraid of women. They don't know how to approach them. They don't have the same ideas of being a provider. And there's those kinds of things. Those aren't masculine. That's not a man. And so learning how to mesh those two together and respecting women and who they are today and what they want today, but also being proud of who you are as a man and what a man is and what a man can bring to the table is also important.
Yeah, absolutely. And Brandon, I'm going to combine my last two questions because they're interconnected. And I'm curious, as a certified life coach, my friend, if you could accomplish one goal with all of the clients you work with, what would that goal be and why? And the second part of that question is, how does that tie into your own personal legacy? And how do you want that to be defined?
All right. So the first one's pretty easy. I mean, it's just whatever makes you happy, whatever defines your happiness. If it's your family and building the best personal life that you can build, meaning, you're able to financially take care of yourself. You have a wife, you have kids, you have whatever you're looking for out of life, and you're happy. That is my number one goal for clients, and they define what that looks like. Just happiness in the end is what we're talking about here. And then the second question, my legacy, I'll be honest with you, I don't really have a thought on what people are going to think of me when I die. I just don't put my energy into that. I just put my energy into doing the best that I can do as a husband and a father, and helping other people that I can do while I'm here. And however that looks when I pass, however my legacy is defined when I pass, then that's what it looks like. I just don't concern myself with it.
Fair enough, my friend. And finally, tell me, if people want to get connected with you, my friend, what's the best way they can do that?
Yeah, I appreciate that. So brandonheld.com has everything. You can find my Life is Crazy podcast from there. You can join my new Ohio State football podcast from there, and you can also sign up for my life coach. And if you join the website, just join for free. It doesn't cost you anything. You just sign up and get a login. I send you some starter kits for life coaching for free. And also I have a chat room and a blog where people can talk to each other. That community that we were talking about before, of similar people being able to connect. I have all that available at my website, brandonheld.com.
Well, I tell you, building social capital one step at a time is incredibly important, my friend. And I think you're doing a great work to give people the space and the confidence to fall or step into the person that they're supposed to be. So I want to thank you for the good work that you're doing and have done, and commend you for giving so many people a positive path forward. And I want to thank you for engaging in conversation with me this afternoon. It's most appreciated.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on, and thank you for the kind words. I appreciate that. That to me is affirming stuff on, what I'm trying to do with both my podcasts and just, things in life. If people can look at me with the respect and understanding that you do, I really appreciate that. So thank you.